Tell you what we're going to do this evening, because we're in person short of quorum. We're going to go through presentations, and we're not officially calling the meeting to order. We will not vote on the agenda or the minutes. We will not go through the internal affairs cases.
Oh, no.
And we will not vote on the bylaws. But we'll go through most everything else. If a member happens to walk in, I'll call the meeting to order.
There you go.
Okay, and we can take that from there.
Well, I'm texting Evelyn.
Okay,
Do you mind if I say something?
go ahead.
And this is not a criticism, you know, I always think you do a great job, but it took me thinking, wait a minute, there's not all these AI stuff. For me to go back to last month to look at what I'd already looked at. If we don't get to them, could you just send out the new ones for next month? Because people can go back.
What was your question?
We got 2 months worth this month, and I'd already read last month.
If we don't look at I-8, close to 8 tonight, next meeting, just send out the new ones,
Oh, okay.
not any of the previous ones.
I mean, everyone here is smarter than me, but then I finally thought, I've read this, and then I looked at last month's to see what I had already looked at and made notes so that I didn't go through 18 of them.
Okay, we will.
Okay.
I'm going to share with you when we can't have discussion on this, because we're not in a formal meeting, that we did get word back on this council's reports to the city commission. And the city commission would like all boards to report to them on a biannual basis. So we will find out when our first visit with the city commission is. It may be in a couple of weeks, that's possible. They also would like to host an annual reception day for all boards for the city of Gainesville and their respective liaisons. And that will be announced at a later date. So at some point, we're all going to get together.
the menu for approval?
Yeah.
So, did you say suggest a menu?
Did they submit the menu
Oh,
for approval?
I think we should suggest a menu for.
There you go.
Yeah. So just for information.
When they say report, do they mean a written report, or the chair shows up to speak to them at the dais and they're in a
Both.
live?
Both.
Okay.
The quarterly reports, the annual report, and the chair or vice chair gets to show up and probably summarize it and answer questions, I suspect.
So is that going to be a change to our bylaws or no? Okay.
Okay, let us go to, let's see here. Let's go to the chief's update. Acting Chief Garrisowens.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor Solons. Since we presented this quarterly report to the commission a few weeks ago, and Chief Inspector Koenig did such a great job presenting it, I'm going to go ahead and yield to her and allow her to go ahead and go over that report.
Thank you. And we have a copy of that in the materials as well.
So I'm going to expedite a little bit because this is normally about an hour and 15-minute presentation. I will make it about 15 minutes. So if there are any questions, please let me know as we navigate through. So every quarter we go in front of the City Commission, and most of the data that we'll be presenting is actually from January 1st to March 31st. So, you know, as we go through it, if you have questions, I can explain anything and we'll navigate. So this is a comparison of the first quarter of each of these years, so 2020, 2021, 22, and 23. And this is what we call our NIBRS data. So this is the data that every law enforcement agency has been mandated to follow in terms of reporting crimes to the FBI and, of course, FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And these are the 7 categories and how they're broken down. And the one thing that you will notice is you're going to see an uptick a little bit in our robbery category and our aggravated assault category between 22 and 23. But if you look at 2021, very similar. So the numbers, as you kind of look at over all 4 years, they're quite close. You know, it's only a difference of maybe 8 or 10, sometimes 15. But it is rounding about the same, you know, as you look. So I'll just go over 2023. For homicides this so far, to March 31st, We've had 3 homicides. We've had 47 rapes reported, 42 robberies, 159 aggravated assaults. And aggravated assault is threatening someone with a weapon of some sort. Could be a knife, could be a gun, just to give you an idea of some of the crimes that meet that crime type. And we've had a total of 251 violent crimes that have happened this quarter. Looking at property crimes, we've had 90 burglaries, 877 larcenies. And to explain what a larceny is, it's actually a retail theft, a conveyance burglary. It's a theft of some sort. So you notice that that number is the highest number of all the numbers as you look in terms of the numbers totally on the crime types. And the last one is auto theft. So we had 100 of those. So we've had a total of 1,067 property crimes. And if you look at the property crimes from 2020 to 2021, we're actually lower. But 2022, we had a little bit of a lull there. So we're right on track for how we normally are for most of these crime types. For a grand total of 1,318 that have been reported in the first quarter of this year. Does anyone have any questions about this? Yes, sir. Callie, how can I-
For the previous years, we're only comparing the first quarter each year?
That's what I
Yes.
was gonna
Okay,
ask.
okay.
Yes, so it's year to date, so we actually, so you're comparing apples to apples. We didn't give you the full year's worth of data. And, yes, sir?
Well, go ahead.
No. So we didn't want to put a full year of 2020's data next to one quarter of data. It doesn't give you a good perspective. So this is just for the quarter.
And I know it's only for the quarter. How many homicides are we at now?
Captain Owens, how many homicides now? 6. So we haven't even closed the second quarter, so 6, yes.
Hope they catch my brother.
Any more questions? We'll go to the second slide. So the second slide is exactly what I just went over, so we'll actually skip it. It just shows you just for this year, just for this quarter. So we'll go to the third slide, Ms. Holt. And this is the GPD quarterly gun-related statistics. And in this slide, we actually compared the first fiscal year quarter, which is October 1 to December 31, to January 1st to March 31st. And the one thing that I'm very proud to say is we've had a significant reduction in stolen firearms within the city. But I want to bring a highlight to that. And the reason I say that is we've had in this quarter, January 1st to March 31st, 42 stolen firearms in the city of Gainesville. 28 of those cases came out of conveyance burglaries. So that's cars that were broken into in order to get the firearms out. Now realize in the city of Gainesville, majority of our conveyance burglaries, a good majority, are unlocked cars. So people aren't locking their cars and they're not securing firearms that are being taken out of cars. And that is actually, as you move down, we've got weapons seized or recovered by law enforcement from January 1st to March 31st is 23. Number of shots fired calls, and that's 28. Now I want to make a little comment about that number also. And I'm going to be very specific about the statistics because I think it's good information to have. Those 28 calls, we verified that there were either projectiles that were located for where a firearm was dispelled a round of ammunition. We found shell casings on the scene. We had people who saw the evidence of this, meaning we were able to prove that a firearm was dispelled and it wasn't fireworks or some other explanation in terms of noise. And these were confirmed. That doesn't count for all the other calls for service where we couldn't find that information. So if you were to run this in our computer-aided dispatch center, you would find a lot more calls for service than this number. But this is confirmed where we know we actually had shots fired. Number of persons shot or injured by gunfire. We had 9 in this quarter, and 1 was self-inflicted. And then also in this quarter, we had 4 homicides. Now look, year to date, as Captain Owen said, and that's through May 24th, we've had 6 so far this year. So I see hands up. Yes, Ms. Sheila?
So that was something I would like to bring up, and that I think it would be incredible because Chief Scott all the time brings up what can we do to get people from taking guns. So Representative Yvonne Henson has introduced the last 3 years and can't even get it into a committee that people be required in their vehicles to have a lockbox. And it would be amazing if GPD and the Sheriff's Department, I mean, it's something I've talked to other districts too,
Yes.
would lobby, because y'all lobby about other stuff, lobby for that to be heard in committee and passed as a law. Then you wouldn't have people going in and stealing from cars if they had to have it in a lockbox. So I think it's something we need in the state. We can't pass other gun restrictions, but I mean, it would be cool to, then you wouldn't, because we hear every meeting, all these guns that are being stolen from vehicles.
Mhm.
So people would have to lock it up. I came from a culture where you had shotguns on racks in the trucks, but this is different.
So if, just to put it in a little more perspective, let's put both of these quarters together. And on just the statistics, we've had 88 firearms stolen, 60 of them came from cars. I mean, that's just in 6 months. So think of how many times those guns were utilized for illicit or illegal activity or used in violent crime. This would be a great way, we advocate all the time on our social media and in our
Right.
public forum to lock it or lose it, meaning lock all of your things. And that means your homes, your cars, everything that you can think of. And we tell this all the time to any crime watch group that we go to. Locking your doors is very important. Even if you feel like you live in a safe community, there are individuals who will go and check door handles. And sometimes they'll check 50 cars in one outing. And we'll have, that many, so.
So what I'm advocating for, and
Yes.
maybe you can tell me how I could approach Chief Scott about it, is that he, every time I hear him speak, he says, what can we do? What are you all willing to do? I say, oh, I tutor, I do this in the community.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, if we could get the police chiefs and the sheriffs to advocate for this locked box and conveyance that Representative Henson has been trying to advocate for, that is a positive thing. And, we could get community groups once, but they need to hear from the police chiefs and the sheriffs what is happening, like how many guns are on the street for that. So,
Well, I will share that message with Chief Scott
Okay.
and have him get back in touch with you, Sheila.
okay, thank you.
No problem.
I don't know if this should be instead of that or in addition to that, but it seems to me there needs to be some pretty powerful public education piece about this. Because if I'm not inclined to lock my car door, why am I going to lock my gun box? The same person is just as unlikely to leave both unlocked. So, and then if you get punitive about it, you may discourage some people from reporting. They don't want to get in trouble for having it in the open car. They may just not report. So I don't know. Maybe maybe this committee needs to make itself useful and do some brainstorming and think of a way to approach that. My other question: why is there no line on here called suicide? I tend to look at that one self-inflicted and assume it's a suicide attempt, successful or not. But maybe there should be a line that says suicides, or we should know if these self-inflicted are accidents or deliberate.
These are mostly accidental. We don't try not to track but I can get you any data that you want, Mr. Blunt, for sure. So if you want that information, but in my understanding on this self-inflicted, no one's life was threatened. Sometimes they're accidental. Someone's cleaning their gun, or they accidentally, and sometimes it's not. So,
well, there's people that study it report that nationally a large number of gun deaths are suicides.
okay.
But that's something that the Congress and some government units have crushed the tracking of over the years. But if we can get away with doing it locally, we shouldn't ignore those deaths.
Would you like those numbers?
Yes.
Okay. we will include them next time.
That's good.
Next slide, please. So we're going to go through just very quickly some of the prevention efforts. There'll be 3 categories you see for each of the districts. It's prevention, intervention, and suppression. Prevention are things that we do in the community. These are the crime watches that we attended. And just to bring highlight to the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, they recognized Officer of the Year, Sergeant Joseph Castor. He's our public information sergeant right now. He's doing a great job. And also Officer Amanda Figueredo, who is our Officer of the Year within the Gainesville Police Department. So they noticed and gave awards to both of them. That was very nice. And you can see several of the crime watches. We'll immediately go to the intervention slide. And intervention is where we go out and do education in the community on different things. District 1 had traffic safety and education. They went out and did that. We had rape aggression defense classes, which are called the RAD classes. We give those in the Hall of Heroes at GPD. We have some scheduled again soon. And then here are our community builder meetings that we attended. You know, several to mention: student safety at the university, police department, you have health, security, homeless, the downtown coordination team, and our regional violent crime task force. We'll go to the next.
Quickly, tell us, Region 1 is specifically what area?
I apologize, region.
District 1.
Or District 1. I'm sorry.
District 1, okay. So District 1 is typically made up of more of our permanent residents, and it actually kind of is, if I was to describe the city of Gainesville, it goes from Lincoln Estates to Duval to Highland Court Manor and it goes across 39th Avenue and all the way west. So Spring Tree, down by Oaks Mall, it's kind of this big wave on the north and both east and west sides of the city. The south, east, and west sides, which include most of our downtown entertainment districts, downtown Midtown, and our neighborhoods like Coakley Hills, Kirkwood, and all the apartment complexes off of Southwest 35th Place, Southwest 20th Avenue that are student-oriented is our District 1. So District 2 is most of our permanent housing residents. What I mean by our long-term residents who have long-term crime watches, and that goes in the top portion. And then District 1 is south and east. So student-focused areas. And there are some permanent residents, some of our crime watches in there also. But this is how the city is kind of broke up. So, and on the next presentation, which we will give to the commission, it'll have the map on it with all of our zones and our sectors and how the city is broke up. So we will have that on the next one. It actually was a question from the city commission the last time we presented. So excellent question, Norm.
Consistent, aren't we?
Yes, I feel like I've answered that one before. So we're on suppression. Perfect. So suppression efforts are where we take typical law enforcement, traditional law enforcement efforts in order to combat crime. The ARPA details are all about violent crime, and these are the statistics that come from it. You know, traffic stops, suspicious persons contacts, how many arrests we made, how many vehicles searches we did, also the contraband that came out of them, and these are their narcotics. And you'll notice there are large numbers of narcotics that came out of here.
What's ARPA?
ARPA, it's the American Rescue Plan.
Oh, I didn't think it was.
Yes.
So it was a pot of money from the COVID relief stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I thought it must be something else.
So we received $240,000 for overtime that would allow us to do violent crime details in the areas that are plagued by it. Now listen, but not only is it violent crime details of suppression, but we've also done educational details. The gun buybacks are in there. We've done community walks. District 2 with Captain Victoria Young did a Gainesville United program, which was a full week of events where officers walked neighborhoods with citizens, brought and highlighted what those things that are impacting the neighborhoods are all about. So that ARPA money is being used in both ends, both I would call it in the intervention area and in the prevention area and in the suppression area. So,
So are these the stats that were done by officers that were on the overtime at the time?
yes, and this is only from January 1 to March 31st. Yes.
Could you tell me what suspicious person contact, is that someone calling in that someone's prowling, or?
Yes, ma'am, and it could be multiple other things. If people are in places at times, that's not a normal, legitimate person. It could be they're on a closed business that, has a trespass authorization for us to check, and they're behind the business or they're lurking around. It could be proactive or reactive, meaning if an officer saw it or if it was called in by a citizen.
You have some way that you're monetizing this? I mean, is it like $400 per arrest or $50 per seized firearm? How do you balance it against the ARPA spending?
We haven't done that, Mr. Blunt. Honestly, the money is just allocated to the officers who work this, and when they do the details, they're on overtime. So we're utilizing the money that was provided.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking like healthcare.
Yeah, no, we
Not
don't.
billing codes.
We haven't broke it down like that. So let's go to District 2, Deborah. So in District 2, here are intervention and prevention areas. And these areas we did a dementia care expo at the Senior Rec Center. We went to Stepping Stones Preschool, and we were community partners for harm and reduction and peer support. We did 42 community events during this quarter alone. District 2 has our most crime watches in the city. As I told you, this is where all the permanent residents, long-term crime watches, long-term very established neighborhoods are of our community members. So they attend a lot of meetings every month, and they do a lot of efforts from District 2. And we'll switch to the next slide, which is our suppression efforts, and it was dealing with Grace Marketplace and some complaints that we had got surrounding that. And we worked with the Grace Marketplace stakeholders, we worked with community advocates, we worked with, creating a safety zone. So GPD organized it, and the picture showcased this area which had a lot of residents and people that were staying there, which are no longer staying there. So we had 0 arrests. It wasn't arrest, it was just a community outreach kind of thing, and we partnered with Grace Marketplace to get that done. So gun violence, unrelated to Grace, this is just gun violence, continued efforts. They had 3 significant arrests and 2 involving the use of firearms. I won't go into those cases, we'll be here for a very long time, so we'll go to the next slide. So this is our criminal investigations division, and these are 5 highlighted investigations that they did and these are resolutions that came with actual arrest or with the sentencing of an individual. So we had a double homicide. The offender was arrested, and you see his name, Mr. Parker. And we had another homicide. This is out in our Phoenix neighborhood. The offender was arrested and taken into custody. And you can read the results of that. We had an aggravated child abuse, and this one is a little hard to read, but the offender was arrested and held accountable in charge of an 18-month-old baby who was severely injured. We had a lewd and lascivious molestation, and this offender was a person who was a registered predator, and because of the investigative work of our detectives, he received a natural life in prison sentence for reoffending after offending the first time in their excellent investigation. And the last one is actually an interesting case because it's a stolen vehicle and chop shop, which actually led us out to Hawthorne. And you can see the multiple vehicles within the shelter and the multitudes of evidence that came from that, and that was Detective Warren Meek in our investigations division. This division handles any felony that comes into the Gainesville Police Department that needs to be investigated. That needs further follow-up, that an immediate arrest sometimes doesn't happen right away. And any major violent crime, they show up onto the homicide scenes in the middle of the night. They're all on call. They do extensive forensic work. So they have a forensic division. If you need a scene that is actually processed and handled, this unit does it. So these are just 5 of the most significant cases. There are many more, but yes, sir, Mr. Blunt.
This question may be more for the chair. I don't know how records are handled inside GPD as far as confidentiality of names, but it seems to me these names should be held a little closer to the vest until the person is convicted or pleads guilty. Like the lewd and lascivious, that one's been sentenced. So you know, that's definitely for sure. But if the others are like in jail pending trial, I mean, suppose they beat the case and we've waved their names around like this, it might not be good.
Understood. Yeah.
They've already,
So-
most of these cases have already made the news though.
So
These
the.
are
Public record.
Yeah,
These people are convicted?
No, they're not convicted, but their arrests, once they go onto an arrest document, which is called a minimus, every bit of information that is on that document is public record except the victim's information.
Oh, so
So-
they're on blast already?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. We did not include photos, though, Mr. Blunt, just the names. The next two slides are from the Special Investigation Division. It might be 3 slides. The first one is they did a traffic stop and they found, look at all these fraudulent IDs that were being utilized. And, you know, think of someone who has lost their identity and now 8 credit cards are opened, and this is this type of investigation. They also did an arrest in February. This is the interdiction officers. And they were able to get out of that traffic stop 3 handguns, 1 was stolen, 9 magazines, and 339 rounds of ammunition. And several, you know, a lot of narcotics also. So these are the results of those 2 traffic stops. The next slide highlights another traffic stop done by the interdiction unit where we got 109 grams of edibles, 1 gram of THC oil, 2.5 grams of cocaine, and 34 grams of marijuana. And this is all the picture of the narcotics. This was on I-75. And so just to relate it to the grams weight, okay, during that search, the interdiction officers located 19.2 pounds of marijuana in the rear cargo area of vehicles. So that's a large amount. Excellent work by them.
Carrying all that stuff and they go out and drive, stupid.
The next slide is our traffic homicide investigations in the city. As you can see, from 2010 to 2022, the numbers have increased year by year. Last year, we had 24 traffic homicides, and as you can tell from 2010 forward, that is the highest number that we have had in the city of Gainesville. We had 6 just so far this year. The next slide, please. This slide breaks down the traffic fatalities and the serious bodily injury crashes over 22 and 2023. So just to give you a comparison, the first set of numbers that you see, which is traffic fatalities, in the first quarter, which was October 1 to December 31st, we had 4 in 2022 and 8 in 2023. In the second quarter, which is the quarter we're talking about now, in 2022, we had 8 traffic fatalities and 6 so far this year, which we have mentioned. Serious bodily injury crashes are crashes that are so significant that we have individuals who've been trauma alerted, and we work them as their traffic homicide investigations just in case the person passes away. Sometimes we've had people pass away from a traffic crash 6 to 8 months later. So we would rather investigate them fully on the front end and be prepared just in case we need it for court purposes later on. And these are the numbers for serious bodily injury crashes in Gainesville. And the map to the right, you can see all the dots and locations throughout the city of the THIs for this quarter, and also the serious bodily injuries for this quarter. So THIs are red, the serious bodily injuries are blue. The next slide, please. These are the traffic community education suppression efforts, and they did a motorcycle noise detail in January, and this is 1300 to 3400 Northwest 16th Avenue. We also did an IPTM bike pedestrian high visibility enforcement class or grant class in February, and I'm sorry, this is an enforcement detail, not a class. And you can see the outcome, it's ongoing. And what they do in those enforcement details is they actually do education. So you see the number of pamphlets and tips that they've given out. And then in March, we had the Lincoln Middle School speeding detail, which usually comes from community complaints about speeding in the neighborhoods. They did 10 community and educational events in this quarter. The next slide is our GPD, Meridian, and co-responder team, and we're going to skip that slide because you're going to have a beautiful presentation by the experts and not by Jamie. And they will come up next after me. The Gainesville Pre-Arrest Diversion Program, this is the number, and we've had 6 during this quarter, and these are the individuals' race and sex that they were issued to. The next slide, please. This slide shows you the crime types and also the addresses of the locations of where these diversion programs were utilized. And as you can see, 3 of the 4 addresses are actually Walmart stores. One is the Oaks Mall. So mostly retail theft or petty theft in locations that are, prevalent where we see those things. The next slide is our Pastors One Community Group. And the work group is, this is a group of pastors. It also includes many other agencies, the State Attorney's Office, Santa Fe Community College, the Juvenile Justice System. There are, I could go down the list, Gainesville Fire Rescue is in there, Gainesville Housing and Community Development, and many pastors from many different organizations throughout the city. And we've identified individuals who have been involved in violent crime, have been witnesses to it, have been victims of it, and have a propensity to be in areas where violence occurs. And basically, we're bringing them together with every resource that we have in the city, including our BOLD program, which offers education, offers, job training opportunities, and to give these individuals the information and the resources they need to be successful in the world. And we had a meeting with them, and during this time, and we brought 5 individuals in. The best results of this is 3 of the 5 don't have their high school diplomas or GEDs, and asked us to help them navigate getting that. They want a job, they want these things, but they need the education and the skills to be able to do that. And this particular pastors group attended 51 community events during the quarter. And this is a group of individuals who are highly motivated, and it is a way for the Gainesville Police Department with community members, with other organizations, to make this successful, but to reach as many people as we possibly can to divert them away from violent crime and committing violent crime. How do we do that? We do it together as a community, not as the police department, but together as one community. And we've been very successful in these efforts so far, and it will continue. Yes, Mr. Blunt?
2 questions. The DOC youth, does that mean a youth who's had law enforcement involvement or has been incarcerated or something?
Yes, sir.
And does a juvenile justice committee still meet every first Friday at 8 a.m. at the school board building?
Are you talking the system of care?
I don't remember the right title, but I
Okay.
went to some meetings years ago at way too early on a Friday at the school board, in the conference room.
Do you, I don't know, but I could find out for you. I don't know that information. Okay, so according to Captain Owens, Mr. Pelham, who works out of the county, the sheriff's office, they're still meeting on Fridays. It's 9 a.m., right there? Something like that.
9.
And moved it to 9. Good.
Okay.
I-
I'm sorry, now
So-
I understand.
Now that Rikert House is gonna not be under GPD, what will happen in that money, that budget money that y'all got? And is BOLD gonna be under the city or under GPD, or is it axed out now?
Captain Owens, would you like me to answer that? So the BOLD program will be under the Gainesville Police Department as one of our units that we have at the Gainesville Police Department currently, and the Rikert House will not. And that's been, in the news, and that budget has been eliminated. So does not exist.
So the increase that's coming, the 5 million that GPD is asking for, it's not for any youth programs, it's mostly because of contractual union increase in wages, or?
I don't have that information, but I could get it for you, absolutely.
Okay.
But I personally wasn't involved in any of the budget talks, so I don't have that
You're
information.
kidding. I thought they had you do everything.
No, ma'am. I need to sleep sometimes. Okay. So the City of Gainesville Public Safety Academy, this is the cadet program. We had some individuals apply, but they didn't meet the criteria. Tori Richardson has taken over as the coordinator of this program, and we are working to continue it. The next slide, please. So this is our personnel division. They did recruiting efforts at these 3 locations, the Senior Rec Center, the Florida Gateway College, and in Tallahassee at FAMU Career Center. And you see Lieutenant Marquita Brown, Officer Ernest Graham, and Officer Delancey who attended that. So we have many different things. But this concludes the presentation, and I'm sorry I definitely went over my 15-minute mark. Can I answer any other questions about the presentation? And
On the cadet program, it said next meeting April 14th, so they have had that?
So what ended up happening is this was actually printed, we had to provide this information before the at the 31st, so we were projecting out what was happening. And I don't know about if that meeting occurred or not. So I could get that information for you, but I just don't know.
Just
With
a
the
quick
budget
comment,
yes.
to the acting chief and inspector. I really like this report. It's so much better than some of the previous reports that we had, which was all numbers, if you will. And just want to say that I think this is more appropriate for the work that this council does. I would also say that I took a note that the Pastors One Community Work Group, I think is a wonderful program, and I'll probably put on the agenda in the future a 10 or 15-minute presentation to go into a little bit more in depth on that. It just sounds like a tremendous program.
If they got or will get the OJT grant, will the same ones who were rejected under the career source criteria get another opportunity to try?
We're back to the cadet program. Is that where you're at? Okay.
I'm interested in that also.
I don't know, and I will get that information to you. This is one area, Mr. Blunt, I don't have a lot of expertise in, and it's a program that our personnel unit has been heading up. So without giving you any information I don't know, I would rather just get it to you. And I made a note, so I'll make sure.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the co-responder team update. Officer Sarah Reeves, I believe.
Thank you. I'm Officer Sarah Reeves. I've been with the mental health co-responder team for about 1.5 years now. Just kind of give you an idea of what we do and what our goals are and how we hope to help improve our community. We have our entire team here, starting with our lieutenant who oversees us, and then our 4 teams, so we'll kind of break down when we work and how we work.
Would you mind having them introduce themselves?
Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Marvelous Bivens, sorry I said it fast, I'm kind of used to saying it, so.
Hi, I'm Clinician Charmaine Johnson. Hi, I'm Clinician
Officer Knapp, the newest member of the team.
Thank you.
Corporal Goff.
I'm Clinician Victoria Glass.
My name is Felipe Hernandez, Commission.
And I'm Lisa Scott, I'm a lieutenant, I oversee them, and just want to say thank you for having us, and just having them here showcases your dedication to the unit, as some of them had to adjust their schedule, so thank you all as well.
Appreciate your introduction.
Thank you.
So just kind of a quick brief of why we do what we do. Our community noticed that law enforcement was responding to a lot of calls that involved individuals in a mental health crisis or dealing with substance abuse. We looked at other programs throughout the nation and said, I think our community could benefit from a co-responder team. We see an increase of individuals who voluntarily want to go to Meridian or Vista or some type of receiving facility. We've realized that with our team and working with community resources, we can kind of limit the voluntary members or voluntary transports also, due to that may not be what they need, but that may be the only option they think they have. This is a lovely picture of us, but we're all here. So we're going to move forward to the next one. Like I said, we respond to calls for service that include mental health and substance abuse. What that means is we are a patrol unit team. We have our call screen open. Every call that is on the screen, we are going through and assessing if that's a call that's beneficial for us. So the call may come out as a domestic disturbance, and somewhere in there we could say, I think this correlates to mental health and that could be the reason of the disturbance, and so our teams will self-assign. We've asked that we get to choose what calls we go on based off of the priority and the need for us to respond to that call. So there may be a voluntary transport on the scene along with a domestic disturbance, and we may decide that our team is more useful at the domestic disturbance to kind of work through the questions, and then we can follow up with the voluntary transport at a later time. We are a liaison between first responders and individuals with crisis. So our goal is to give them the resources and the options in our community that best fits their needs. Each individual has different needs. So with our clinicians and our connections with other resources, we try to figure out which one is best for them and connect them directly to that resource. We try to go to the least restrictive environment. Like I said, some people may think their only options are Meridian or Vista as a receiving facility, but sometimes they may need a primary care, or they may need just a walk-in therapy session, which our Alachua County Crisis Center offers. So that might be something more beneficial for them than a lockdown security facility. So we try to assess those needs and figure out which location is best for them. Except, we are looking for actively suicidal or somebody who is having suicidal ideations. Those are two keys that we're looking for in the call notes that direct us to that call versus other calls. While we're assessing this, we're looking for if they have a plan, if they have a method, risk factors that are involved, like he mentioned, firearms being a high thing for suicide, a high risk factor. We look into those options to figure out how we can divert the suicides.
Is protective fact support systems, is that the thing where they have someone they promise to call when they're thinking about?
Yeah, so it could be kind of like a safety plan. It could be that they have roommates. They could have a therapist or psychiatrist already that they're working with, things like that, that show us that they have resources put in place. We see a lot of correlation between mental illness and substance abuse, so we do try to work with individuals who are suffering from both or one or the other. Just because the call note comes out as an individual suffering from substance abuse, our team doesn't not go to that call. We still see that as a mental illness and want to assist them. The main disorders that we primarily deal with: bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, trauma disorders, and anxiety. We'll break down some of our data in a couple slides. And then we also deal with elderly people with dementia and related disorders. And then we also deal with individuals with developmental disorders too. The sequential intercept model, this is where any individual can come in contact with the court system. And what we try to do is reach them at intercept 0 or 1. So we try to reach them either prior to them calling law enforcement or when they call law enforcement. So that may be a referral for us from like a school. It could be a person that we have had contact with before and we want to do a follow-up and meet them prior to their crisis. Or like I said, it could be them calling into 911.
Are calls to the national number routed to GPT at all, or just straight to Meridian? 899, or what is it?
988, it's actually routed to our Alachua County Crisis Center. They receive the call, they evaluate, check the risk factors. If they feel that it does reach law enforcement, then it gets sent to our dispatch. If they feel that they can handle the call at their level, they have teams in place for mobile response or, like I said, walk-in therapy options like that, that they may be able to handle it prior to it even reaching us. And if they do feel like the call that they receive does reach law enforcement, they tend to call our team. so that we can work together and we have a great relationship with the crisis center.
How often are you dealing with repeat subjects?
Our data collects that, yes. I don't have the numbers, but we can get that for you.
Well, I'm saying, like, just, is it,
Sometimes it's frequent, just because we like to follow up with the person. We like them to know that we're not just meeting them in that crisis and that's it. We would like to follow up with them. Sometimes the follow-up looks like a week later. Sometimes it looks like they call my personal number, not my personal, my work number, instead of 911. We have a lot of individuals who could technically fall in the misuse of 911, but really they want somebody to talk to or they want somebody to come out. And so we try to divert the 911 and have them call our work cell phone numbers. So we have 3 main goals, which is also tracked in our data. We would like to prevent incarceration of individuals with mental illness. That the reason that the crime was committed was due to their mental illness. So this is like your disorderly conduct. Even sometimes with batteries, trespasses, that's a big one, things like that, where it's not a violent crime, but it's a crime that is occurring due to their mental illness. If we can divert them from incarceration to get them stabilization, we would much rather have that. We do Baker Act diversions, which is kind of different, but like I said, not everybody needs to go to a receiving facility. If we can take them to the crisis center for a walk-in therapy versus a receiving facility, that would be what we would consider as a Baker Act diversion. And then we also track emergency room diversions. We don't always want somebody going to the emergency room for something that should be handled at the primary care level. So we partner a lot with our GFR paramedicine team to kind of help those individuals who are looking for the more medical assistance. And in all of those goals, our hope is to return our patrol units back to their calls for service. And so if we do have to take an individual to a receiving facility, we like to stay with them for as long as we can to kind of help them through that process. And that allows our patrol units to get back to handling the other calls for service that don't involve mental illness. This is kind of a flow chart of from the time somebody calls 911, what our options are. So they call 911 for a mental health crisis. We respond. One option is involuntary inpatient treatment and or jail. There are certain times where the crimes that they have committed, we cannot do a diversion, but what we try to do at that point is put in the minimus that we think this person needs mental health help, whether that's an evaluation or we recommend the mental health hospital as their diversion. Meridian also has a forensic unit that we send an internal response or internal referral to that also if we come in contact with somebody who we do have to take to jail. So we don't just take them to jail and leave it at that. We still try to get them services. Yes, ma'am.
So at one point, we got the statistics on trespass
Yes, ma'am.
warnings and people being taken to jail. Many of those people were homeless, and many of them, after conversation, was either having a mental health crisis or some kind of substance abuse.
Yes, ma'am.
The majority of the trespass were homeless people when we got those statistics.
Yes, ma'am.
So is that decreasing?
That's our hope. So our hope is that as we do what we do, patrol officers will follow in line. So this morning I was on a call with a trainee who's an FTO. There's a homeless individual who was committing a trespass. I went out, I evaluated, I said, yes, he meets criteria, he's in a mental health crisis. I take him to the receiving facility. Afterwards, the trainee says, I believe that if this was a night shift, that he would have been taken to jail versus a receiving
Right.
facility, in which I explained these are the points of what I look for that said, yes, a Baker Act is available. And the hopes is to educate our patrol officers and let them know that they can do similar to what we do.
And is that is that a regular training? I mean, it's a shame for people on the street to be taken to jail.
Yes, ma'am. We do what's called patrol briefing trainings, and we go in and we talk to patrol officers when they're briefing in the morning and give them specific trainings. So we are trying to educate, but there's 4 of us, so
Yeah.
we're doing what we can.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
So with that being said, because y'all are working in pairs, so if one of you called out, are you still able to operate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So if I have scheduled time off, my clinician can ride with another officer. And if she's not available, then I ride and I still answer the same calls. We've also had situations where an officer may be out for an extended period of time, and so we take that clinician and work extra shifts and things like that to make sure our teams still function and running properly. The second option when we come in contact with somebody is one of those 3 diversions I talked about, in which we try to give some type of referral from a diversion. So whether that be to the crisis center, to Meridian outpatient, to Grace, wherever we can find the referral that fits best for them, we try to do that. Voluntary inpatient treatment, like I said, some individuals, they are set, this is where I want to go, this is what I know I need to do. And honestly, individuals, especially with substance abuse, if we meet them at that time where they want treatment, we are going to get them to treatment. We're going to sit with them and make sure that they get checked in and everything gets done, so when they are wanting the help, they're able to receive it. And then, like I said, diversion with the referrals and the outpatients, which is our less restrictive treatment. It's 1 officer with 1 master's level clinician. We ride 40 hours a week, so that if one of us is out, we still have the teams running. These are our scheduled hours, so we cover it every day of the week, but our latest team works till 10 p.m. So the hopes would be, as we expand, our hours expand into a little bit later time. But this is what we were able to work with, and based off of the calls for service, these are the times that we saw most benefit the community. So, well, yes, we try to educate our patrol units too. We go through a lot of training. We not only go through crisis intervention training, but we also teach it. We assist the crisis center with that. We assist helping patrol officers through the scenarios. We teach different blocks of it. And then our clinicians go through their own training also. They are also all CIT trained, and they also assist with teaching it and helping more patrol officers get trained in it. They are all equipped with a ballistic vest in our car. We have them put it on their seats, and it's flipped back, so if we are responding to an in-priority call, they can put it on easily, and then they have that protection. And then we all have base radios in our vehicles, so they can, if they're in the car during one of these hot calls and they need some type of assistance or they see something, they're able to communicate to other officers or to our dispatch to get help. So, sets us apart from basic patrol officers. We provide support, education, and awareness, not only to patrol units, not only to the individuals that we're coming in contact with, but sometimes their families. There's a lot of lack of support for families who are helping somebody who has mental illness, so we try to support them and educate them in everything our team offers. Try to improve care coordination. That might be sending an internal referral for a medication management appointment, or getting them a referral for primary care through Meridian. Hello. And then, like I said, we thrive on our follow-up visits. We want them to know that we're not just there for the crisis, we're there long-term. If they need something, we'd rather them call us prior to them getting to that crisis, for them to say, hey, something's not right, medications aren't working or whatever it may be, we like to reach them at that point. And then we also, we give referrals to local resources, but we also get referrals from patrol units that say during 3 a.m. when we don't have a team working, if they go out and make contact with somebody that they think could benefit from our resources, we have an internal referral form, so we will follow up with that person.
Does that happen often? or-
Yes. We are constantly getting emails from our lieutenant, and we keep track of all those referrals, so that way we're able to say, these are individuals we came in contact just based off of referrals from patrol units. And I think it speaks volume to how much our patrol units see the work we do and know that it works, because we started with not getting very many, and now we're getting referrals every day.
Is there a database that a police officer could look at to see if that person's name has been referred, and maybe they know that they go through crises when they have contact with them?
Yes, ma'am. So we have on our MCT the person's name. We're able to flag them as somebody with mental illness. We also complete what's called a field contact card, which basically anytime we make contact with somebody, we put why we made contact with them, and it's labeled as a co-responder team contact, so they know if that person has had contact with us before.
Wow,
Yes, ma'am.
excellent.
Just kind of recapping everything of preventing unnecessary incarcerations. It doesn't do us any good to put individuals with mental illness into a jail system. The way I describe it to patrol units, we can either take somebody to jail, and for a trespass, they're going to be out at 9 a.m. the next morning and committing the same crime and causing the same issues, or I can take them to a receiving facility, get them stabilized, hopefully get them in contact with their family, and then help them to move from that crisis. We want to connect them with all the resources we have. Our community has so many resources that so many people have no idea is available. The amount of times I tell people that the Crisis Center offers free walk-in or telehealth or call-in therapy, and you don't have to have insurance, you don't have to have anything but the time to go in, they're amazed. And I wish more people knew about it, but that's kind of what our hope is to educate. We also track the number of use of force encounters. So our whole objective is to de-escalate without using the use of force. We want to use our words, and we want to meet them where they're at so that a use of force is not documented, and our data does track that also. We want to save everybody money, not only the community, we want to save the individual's money too, right? Do they need to have the bill for a receiving facility if that's not what's needed and they can have free therapy? If their issue up front is financial, it's not going to do them any good to take them somewhere where they're going to receive more financial debt and have a harder time. And then stabilizing citizens so that we can help reduce future calls. Like I said, we do try to have individuals just call us directly. We obviously tell them if it's an emergency, please call 911 if we're stuck on another call or off duty. But if it's something that we can help you with at a later time, if we can't answer right away, please call us. So April's data mashup, this is for all 14s. We did 375 calls for service. I will say not all of those calls are mental health related. We also track what's called a patrol support. So if we don't have any mental health calls and we're not doing follow-ups and we're just available, our city is short police officers, so we're going to help out with those extra calls. We're going to help out with the suspicious persons. We're going to come as backup for domestic battery so that 2 zone units aren't taken up. We're going to help where we can. We diverted 65 individuals from Baker Acts or Marchman Acts. We completed 13 Baker Acts, diverted 24 people, and 11 were transported voluntarily. We had 71 diversions from jail, and 20% of the individuals we came in contact were experienced homelessness, 5% were veterans, and 28% had a diagnosis of depression, 23 had a diagnosis of schizophrenia. These are some of our stakeholders and or resources that we use and we send referrals to for the citizens that we come in contact with. Top being Meridian, the Crisis Center, and the paramedicine team. All of those we use constantly, and they're great resources for us to give to the citizens we work with. Then contact information for GPD's contact and Meridian's contact. Any questions that?
Was this whole program established based on a model from somewhere else?
Yes, from which program was it?
We modeled it after several national programs from other police agencies. So,
Baltimore, sorry.
Yeah, mostly agencies, and I do want to give credit to Lieutenant Whitney Stout, because Lieutenant Whitney Stout actually started it. Captain Victoria Young is a huge participant and is also part of their chain of command. But we researched it, and we were first in Alachua County to have a team. We have 4 teams, and I'm sure Sarah can share about the other teams at the other agencies.
So ASO has 2 teams, and UFPD recently has 2 teams. So we are covered at all levels in our area, and we all work together. So once a quarter, we all come together and have a training so that we can see if something that ASO is doing would benefit us or something we're doing would benefit the other teams, and we all train together for that. We also go to conferences and talk with other agencies from all over about their teams, and one thing that I'll say is there's a wide variety of co-responder models. What we do is what works best for our agency and for our community. Things that UPD might work best for them may not work best for us, and that's okay, but at the end of the day, our goal is to help our community the best that we can. Any other? Yes, sir.
One of your slides mentioned monetary savings. This is a little thing, but was this handout provided by Meridian or by GPD?
It's both. We work together. Everything is, all of our data is collected together and agreed upon between the 2 agencies.
This is strictly a mechanical comment. Since there's no color-coded graphs in this, I promise not to get bored if this comes in black and white. Because it costs 8 and 10, JLAC is jumping on the city about spending, so we need to be conspicuously thrifty. And so this costs 8 to 10 times more to print.
But
this
if it
than
was
our
in black
office
and
print.
white, you wouldn't see our beautiful faces in the picture.
Well, you're here in the room.
There you go.
But you're going to take that with you, and you're going to see us on the road, and you're going to say, I have a picture of those officers.
Well, we're not going to throw these away, right? That's for the future. Now, my big question is, could we go back to the slide in Inspector Koenig's presentation that mentioned mashup? Because there's some numbers on this, it's so small I can't read.
That's what our mashup looks like.
Yeah. So this is like an internal document you use?
Okay. This is what we send out to all of our patrol units so that they're aware of the numbers we're doing.
Here, do you have a way to blow that up on the screen? Can you fill up the screen with that? With just the chart?
Do you know
Gotta
what?
start
Still
bringing your
small, my friend.
glasses.
Just
saying.
January 1st and March
Sometimes I'll be magnifying
1
that.
full quarter.
But
Okay.
it's just, some of it's
I can
contrast.
read it,
can't
but-
read these. Well, not in that
Because
pie
it's,
chart.
maybe
and,
because it's not, it's in color too, that's supposed to help you.
Yeah, well, this is a pie chart. Yeah, color makes sense if it's colorful. So, it's much easier to read up there.
Yes. So this
Maybe,
is our
maybe
quarter.
after the meeting, could you leave that up and I'll just look at it afterward. I won't bother you about it now.
Getting at it.
That's in Inspector Koenig's. Yeah, and she told us that the next presenter
Page
would
16.
tell us about it.
Other questions?
You were great. I've heard this presentation. The other person was good. You are a good speaker.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I've not heard it before, and I thought it was
Kirk said.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Fantastic, nice job.
Thank you.
Guys, that's pretty great.
Inspector, if I might, I'm going to kind of push forward the internal affairs training piece. Okay. So we have, the closed internal affairs cases, the minutes, the internal affairs training will be pushed forward. Thank you all for coming this evening. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great work.
Isn't that cool work?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
It's really cool work.
Wonderful.
She's going to take over Jamie Koenig someday. She's a very good speaker.
So Bob Cohen and Milford Griner, thank you for being with us this evening. Sorry you couldn't get here. I hope you're both feeling much better.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And we're done. We're not formally in a meeting, so we are finished.
All right.